Hey everybody, it's Jim from Slick Audio. A little different video today than the norm, and we're going to talk about game audio. Frequently misconstrued as I need a gaming computer to create audio, or game audio. I need to, I'm playing a game and it's the audio in the game. Yes, it is the audio in the game, but we're specifically talking about, when we say game audio, we mean game audio creation, so the audio that's created for the game itself. And it's if you think about it, what's in a game. I'm sure each and every one of you has played at least one video game in your life. Even back to the days, with the exception of Pong. Well, even Pong had a little bloop 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 on each side of the screen. But if you've ever played any other game, whatever your thing is, I was a Doom and all the id Software stuff, ID Software stuff, and anyways, I'm getting too deep because I'm starting to think about, oh geez, that game was fun, this game was cool. But anyways, for creating the audio, so there's a music track that sits behind it, right? And it's not just a track. There's it's multi-track. It's actual music that's created on these things right here, on digital audio workstations, computers that have DAWs on them. Then you're really talking about the immersion in the game itself. So there's sound effects. There's whatever, explosions going off, gunfire, bar fights. I don't know, whatever whatever hell kind of game. Do you tell what kind of games that I played? As a young man. So let's talk about that, and break it down kind of into the 101s, if you will, the real simple to understand. So the first thing you need if you want to get into this and you're not familiar with, and even if you are into this and you're just watching this because, well, what the hell, who's this, the new guy on the block? I'm not really a new guy on the block by any stretch, but we just haven't done a video on this yet, so maybe that's why you're calling me the new guy on the block. So anyways, as you can see, I've got an audio computer, Windows 10 based, and is yes, one of our Slick Audio machines is an R4000, and so you have a piece of software on here called a DAW, Digital Audio Workstation, DAW. So what that is a piece of software that will help you record. I need glasses when I see small shite. So I use a couple different ones here. My main one has been Nuendo. All my life I've used that, or all my career. I have Cubase on here. I have Studio One Pro 4, and I also have Pro Tools. So there are many others. I'm just going to open one up here for grin so you could see it here in a moment. But what it does is it allows you to capture track at a time, or multiple tracks at a time, hence multi-track recording, audio, so you can create music. So at its root level, sound effects is going to be a slightly different thing, but it still can be and should be captured into a digital audio workstation, because you want the highest quality, the best fidelity that you can, right? So if I open up a session here, just to if I double click instead of single click. So in I've got something else running in the background here that shouldn't be when I'm doing audio, but hey, bad Jim, right? So you could see every one of these is an audio track, and so if you were writing a song, obviously, I categorize mine by color. So the reds are drums, yellows are bass, and greens are guitars, G guitar. The blues are keyboards, synths, etc. So, but the whole idea, behind this type of thing is you need to create and write and mix a song. So that's where that's done in this. Sound effects, very similar. You may, if you need to capture a real explosion, obviously I would hope that you're not doing that in your basement or your living room, wherever you have your computer set up to do this. You would probably go out with some type of it could be a laptop with a DAW on it, or you could be just capturing the audio on a high quality 2-track device, just another, or multi-track device. Bottom line is you use different mic techniques, etc., to capture that audio. So I don't want to get into that detail of it. That's for perhaps another video, but that's basically recording. So the whole idea behind the DAW is obviously we want to capture audio and create audio. Great. Okay. So now I've got the song created, and I've got the sound effects created, for a particular game. Now, hopefully you know what kind of game that you're writing music for, so you've written the appropriate style music and the appropriate sound effects for it. Because that'd be a heck of a note if Bugs Bunny walked up and, fluffed the tail and the thing went boom. I'd be like, okay. Now, of course, it was a Roadrunner video, you would expect it, but anywho. So, really, there's some confusion into this next part. So I want to explain the other two pieces, and they're going to be a little more brief, and then I'm going to wrap around to the whole thing and what kind of computer that you would need and possible software to start this. So the next, on the opposite side of the spectrum, think of this as three big piles, right? And over here in pile one, I've got the audio. All right, now I need to marry that to a game, so I'm going to skip the middle pile. I'm going to go all the way over to this pile. This pile is the actual game creation itself. So these are the guys that are doing the wireframe. They're creating the characters, they're creating the environments, the landscape, the gameplay, the AI, and the gameplay. So they're hard coding in whatever platform they do. By the way, it's usually Windows. Now, how do I marry this pile of audio with this game over here? So it's referred to generically as middleware. That term to an IT guy, which I am, is kind of overly generic, but we'll keep with that naming convention for now. So the two that I was exposed to, and this is definitely not my expertise by any stretch as far as running the software, but the two that I'm thinking of are Fmod. That one in particular is extremely powerful that I've seen, and WWise. So it's FMOD is one of them, and WWISE is the other one. So Fmod and WWise. So basically, what they do. So think about it this way: they're not just marrying the game with the audio. They're doing that marriage. But one would think, all right, well, how is that really happening? So the cool thing about it, both of those applications, that I mentioned, is you actually are looking at the game itself without the play going on. So gameplay, right? We're in the game, and there's shit running at you, flying at you, and there's a sequence of events that happen. So if you cross this particular line, this character comes out and attacks or whatever. Then you have obviously the music score that sits behind that. So you've got these different things that are happening within the game itself. Now, in this middleware piece, you're really taking the audio chunks, and you can actually look at the game environment. So without the characters actually show up as, most of the time what I've seen is dots. So, and different colored dots mean different things. But bottom line is you take your, let's just say, I don't know, there's a dog barking over in a corner. So you have a room, and, the game creator has put a dog in the corner. So there's, you're basically looking at the room, and you see a little dot, and that dot, if you clicked on it, would represent the dog, would show you the dog, blah, blah, blah. So, and you wouldn't be able to hear that. So you actually create, for the audio geeks out there, so this is kind of like a panning / reverb / EQ tool. That's really what this middleware is doing. It's allowing the placement in the game, and then from an audio side, it's actually adding those, I'm going to use the term effects. So, for example, dog's in the corner and it's barking, right? And I walk from here and I'm facing say I'm facing this way, I should hear it in my right ear. So if I turn around the other way, now I should hear it in my left ear. If I walk away from the dog, it should be quieter and a little more reverberant. If I walk closer, it should be more in my face. So the software is smart enough to add these algorithms, right? That basically it's kind of like a convolution reverb. So for you audio geeks, convolution reverb is basically taking a space and what the mathematically calculating on the fly if a sound is detonated or created in one particular spot in that space, how it reacts with that particular room or environment that it's detonated or created in. So, and then you hear, reflections, you hear direct sound, you hear, all kinds of different stuff. There's early reflections, late reflections. So the difference between that early reflection is what hits you first. Late reflection is what comes later on. There's stuff bouncing all over the place. Think of a cave, right? Hey, hello in there. You hear all the echoing, and so there's a lot of sound bouncing around. And but if you were blindfolded and you heard that, what would you think of immediately? Oh, well, it's a cave or a very large room or, a cathedral, a church, very large one. So you can, we as humans, that can hear, we make those associations of distances of space, in orally as well as visually. So we see it visually, but we also, detect it orally. No different, well, I was going to compare it to a bat. Bat's more sonar related. So, so the bottom line is it's very simple in concept to understand what they're doing in there. Now, the mathematics and the programming and behind it is just pure genius, and it's extremely complex. But the cool part is you as the user don't have to know how to code to use this middleware. So it's really adding all those time-based effects, the EQ, any Doppler effects. What's Doppler, right? So if a sound's coming at you, and think of the old choo-choo train coming down the tracks, right? And it's a lower pitch, it's a higher pitch, coming at you because it's compressing the sound waves and pushing them towards you, making them faster than they really are. And then as it goes by you, right in front of you, it's the pitch it's supposed to be. And as it's going away, now you have a drag, and it actually is slowing down. So the pitch drops. Car going by, whatever. That was a pretty cool thing, right? So that's a Doppler effect. And it's it's a simple concept, but it's mathematically extremely difficult to calculate. Well, I mean, if maybe they have a flying dragon in this thing, and it's and just zipping by it, right? Well, that's all part of this gaming for audio. All right, so I'm creating audio for a game. I need to make it as real as possible. So if I was blindfolded, I should be able to tell that something was flying right past my freaking head, or that dog barking in the corner. I should be able to clearly detect that, yeah, it's a dog barking, and yeah, it sounds like it's in a freaking corner, and I should be able to walk around, because what if the room is dark? And you can't see. All of what was it, Doom 3? I think that was like, so dark you couldn't play it. Yeah, I think it was Doom 3. I don't know, one of them, the later Dooms after when it used to be good. And it really, you have to create and match that environment. These guys are spending tons of time, and creating characters and environments that are very immersive and get you into the game. And quite honestly, your job as an audio person creating audio for that needs to be, just as meticulous, and you need to be very methodical about how you go about creating the sounds and making sure they're as authentic as possible to make the gameplay as immersive as possible. So that being the case is that middleware, if you will, Fmod, WIs, and there are others out there. They're really kind of giving that marriage and allowing you to place and say, okay, well, if the person is here, basically you're creating a range. So again, the dog in the corner, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plop and say, all right, here's the dog, and I can hear that dog barking in a range. Now, if there's walls there, obviously that'll impede the sound. If I'm on the other side of the wall, I probably could still hear the dog bark, right? It would just be a little quieter. and muffled, because walls absorb high end. So that's where the EQing comes in, equalization. So it's really cool the way the software does what it does, and my hat's off to the guys that wrote it. It's a stroke of genius. So you really can do, not be a coder and get in there and actually, drop your audio, your sound effects into the game and do your job, finish the job, for the game, and hand off a final product, as opposed to, saying, well, here you go, Mr. Game Creator, it's your job to put it in, and I want this here, and that should be there, and that, it's a long time ago, that's the way it used to work. I mean, it was hard coding involved in that stuff, and typically the audio guy would sit down with it, and they would create, and it would take gobs of time. Now we have these tools to really create. So in Game Audio 101, if you will, so it would be video game audio creation. You have, again, the three components of cat meowing. Not kidding, it really is. So you have the audio creation, so you have the multi-track stuff. So I'm creating the music that's going to sit behind and start the game and end the game and in between the game and between cutscenes and da-da-da. And you're going to have all the sound effects that are in there. The voiceovers are all part of that. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff from an audio perspective that's happening. And that's going to go on a machine like this. So the first question that we're always asked is, when it comes to this subject, is, oh, I must need a gaming computer. No, you don't need a gaming computer. What's the difference? Well, okay, it's fairly simple, actually. It's called the video card, and the way we put the machines together. I'm trying to keep this simple, guys, and not as techie. So those of you who want to pick tech, you call me and I'll talk tech to you all day long. So I'm trying to keep this simple for the noobs out there that want to get involved, but aren't quite there yet. So bottom line is your video gaming computer. The main frickin' event in that machine, main piece, is the video card, and that video card is going to be like an NVIDIA GTX, and there's a plethora of them. The 1080 TIs. My God, I'm naming some NVIDIA stuff, but ATI also makes the Radeon series, and they're all great cards. This isn't a video game card comparison. Well, that one's better. You should have mentioned that. Yeah, piss off. I'm not talking about that. I'm an audio guy. So understand that is the main focal point, is how fast I can spin frames per second in the video realm. And the audio to a gaming computer is important, but it's not quite as important as that video and that frame rate is. And that doesn't mean it's not important. It is important. It's just one micro step, like that one, a micro step, behind those frame rates. Everybody gets freaky and wild about frame rates, and the frame rate is how clear that motion is and how realistic and immersive the game experience becomes as you're moving through the environment with all the crap flying at you. So when all that happens, there's a lot of stuff moving, and the video card's got a lot to do. So more powerful video card, the better the gameplay technically will be. As far as amount of memory is concerned, 16 gig of RAM, 32 gig of RAM, overkill at 32, to be honest. 16 gig would run fine, but 32 is good. I mean, somewhere in that vicinity, even 24 gig, happy medium. So, CPU power, obviously you need plenty of CPU power to be able to push the game. So, you do need a high-end CPU, very similar to what we're using in these things. Goodness gracious, hard drive wise, depending on the game, you might need SSDs. You might not. It just depends on the game. I mean, if there's a lot of cutscenes where there's a lot of video being played, then SSD is the way to go, because you can get stuff off the drive quicker. If it's not, if it's more of a role-playing kind of a thing, then a standard platter drive is more than adequate. Technically overkill, but that's like all there is, the baseline. So in an audio machine, we think things differently. from a memory standpoint and a CPU standpoint, obviously CPU, there's certain CPUs that work very well in audio. The i7-8700K is probably the most universal. I mean, that's a great proc. It's an 8th gen Intel processor. The i9 series, which we do, that's our 4100 series, the latter being our 2100 series. Those machines there, or that CPU there is more higher core count, a little lower speed. The more cores you put in a CPU, the lower the speed. So the problem is the games don't always take advantage of massive core counts. It just depends on the game and how it was written and what it's doing. So now the video card. The video card we'd use. I'll use the term CAD or workstation graphics cards in these things, and there's a reason why we do that. And again, trying to keep this as non-tech as possible for the noobs and the people who are just getting into this. So think about this in a CAD world. So let's throw gaming aside for a second and talk about computer-aided drafting, CAD. So if you've never seen it, if you've never heard of it, I'm going to give you your quick 1-minute overview on it. CAD is when people are making designs of, I don't know, maybe drills. And they literally will take, everything. Everything you see here was probably, designed on a CAD system at some point. And they start with a wireframe for the most part, and then they shade. That's kind of old school. It's, or if you're in the PTC Pro Engineer or SolidWorks, PTC is a little bit different with Pro Engineer, where you take a block and then you're carving stuff away. But the bottom line is you're working in solid modeling, and it's called solid modeling for a reason, because we want to see a 3D object. Now, every time you move and you need to view something in a different angle in that model, you're pounding the shit out of your graphics card. I mean, it just takes ridiculous amounts of processing power, because we're not just looking at the pretty surface and the colors. The CAD program is also calculating every component. I'm going to use a drill. There's a motor in here. There's gears. There's all kinds of twisty things and stuff that chuck, that locks this down, and so it knows everything. And as you're turning it in space, it's not just concerned with the surface like a gaming video card is. It's concerned with everything inside as well. So it takes massive amounts of power. Hence why those cards are very expensive. People are buying these, I have a GTX upstairs. I mean, it was at the time a $1,000 card, $1,200 card. I know there's a couple are out now, but still, $1,000 in CAD world is nothing. That's drop in the bucket. I mean, on our top end, our 9100 card, I want to say that's like $4,500 just for the card. So they're in a whole different plane, a whole different playing field, a whole different world. Now, the next question, somebody's going to say, well, why can't we use them for gaming? It must be faster. It's different, guys. There's again, I don't want to get too technical for this video because it's supposed to be a 101 video, but they are designed differently. They're designed for different purposes, and their power, their mathematical calcs are really looking at different pieces of that image. So think of it. Now I'm going to go back to video games. So if I was standing still in an environment, all right, and I'm playing a game, and I stand still, perfectly still, nothing else is moving, the video card has to do virtually nothing. Yes, it's displaying an image. I get that, but there's no super amounts of calculation going on. I've got a static image there, and it's only what I can see that it's calculating out. Now, I'm lying a little bit there, but just go with it. Just go with it. So now I start to move, and I take a step forward. There are certain pieces, when I'm walking straight ahead, that stay the same. Those pixels don't get changed. They stay the same. So it's only looking at the changes and moving those changes. So that's a different set of calcs, different set of calculations. I'm saying calcs, guys, sorry. Different set of calculations that are happening. So that it's a different type of processor. It's a different type of it's just it's different. It's the way it handles that mathematical calculation for every step, and the depth and the wire framing that it's sitting behind it, and all the other fancy bullshit. It just handles it differently. So, is a gaming card good for CAD? Hell no. Is a CAD card good for gaming? It can be. It's overkill, to be honest. And quite honestly, in some areas, the gaming card is could possibly do a little bit better. So there's a ton of variations. So I'm trying to play middle ground here, because again, it depends on what kind of bloody game you're playing. If you're playing Pong or Yahtzee, it really doesn't matter a whole heap of shit what you're using. But I'm thinking more of the Quake, Doom, Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six stuff. Again, you can tell Need for Speed, stuff that I play. Need for Speed's cool. I mean, there's a lot of motion going on there, obviously. So, understanding and putting a machine together for audio is really, we're more concerned about that balance of video card is the least of our worries, whereas the gaming computer is the greatest of their worries or concerns. So, I'm concerned about CPU, I'm concerned about memory, I'm concerned about how quickly I can get audio through that machine. And video has just got to keep up, period. So I'm putting a video card in most of the time that, we use the WX series cards from ATI. I think their drivers are cleaner and they're a little bit lighter in the back end. NVIDIA, it used to be my first choice, but they've taken second spot now. Not that I dislike them. I don't dislike them. They're fine cards, but I'm trying to do the best of the best of the best. Sir, come on, Men in Black, give me a break. Give me a break. So, in any event, I mean, the most stuff that we've got to worry about when we hit play is, is this lovely little window moving. And of course, I'm not playing because I'm at a different sample rate, as I just probably realized now. But yeah, it's not going to play because I am definitely at a different sample rate. Hey, it is. Sorry, my bad. So that's the extent of my video issues in normal audio recording. Oh yeah, all right. I've got this bar that's going across and a couple of things happening on the screen. I don't know why the hell that's not reacting to me right now. But anyways, now when you start to add video, like people do in post-production, that's a different story. Now you need a pretty hefty, graphics card, not video gaming card, workstation graphics card. So, and in doing gaming for audio, you're going to be plopping in pieces of that game and looking at that, and you're going to be playing audio tracks and queuing stuff up and, etc. So you still don't need a killer video card. It's not as bad as post-production by any stretch, movies. But it still requires a heavier duty video card than like what our base model would have. So it's kind of an intermediate. 5100 is probably the minimum I'd recommend if you were doing that, WX 5100. So that's what we do. But regardless of the fact, our 2100 series, the R2100 or T2100 machines. Would be the you can get them in i5, but I'd recommend the i7 8700K variant of that, and that machine with SSDs in the OS and the sample drives, because you're going to be creating audio, remember, and then I don't care what you use for the audio content itself. It's a standard drive is more than adequate. You're not reading or writing from that quickly, not like samples or your OS. So that's really where the care and difference is between that gaming machine and the audio machine. So here at Slick Audio, we're doing our best to make machines for audio creation. It's our job, and I think we make the best on the planet without a doubt. And I might be a hair biased, but hey, WTF, man, I'm allowed to be, right? But I'll stack my machines up against anybody's out there. Well, bring it on. Got a challenge. So again, to recap, 3 components: audio creation, which is what we do here. Then we have the quote-unquote middleware, which is the spatial. You're dropping the audio into the game, and then, of course, the other pile will be the actual game creation itself. So if you're not doing that, don't worry. They're the hardcore coders doing that. God bless you guys. So, you're really doing definitely the first part, the audio creation, and you're probably going to be getting into the middleware piece. If you want to probably survive in the industry, you'll learn it. So, as far as software, I'll give you a brief overview. From a DAW perspective, there are a ton out there. The most common: Pro Tools, Nuendo, Cubase. I was going to say Sonar, but that kind of is like a dead duck anymore. It was bought out, and so that's pretty much going bye-bye. Studio One from PreSonus, Studio One Pro 4 is their new one. Incredible piece of software. It really captured some attention. Ableton Live. There's just Reaper is a fantastic one. That's actually a good one to start with. It's fairly inexpensive, and it is actually very common in the game creation industry. But pick one and learn one. I don't care which one you do. Just pick one and learn it. Because if you try to learn, 3 of them, I'm telling you right now, you're not gonna. I mean, you become a jack of all trades, master of none, and you will need to learn to be a master of one. So pick one. Don't care which one you do, just pick it and use it. Don't pick your nose. Just pick the software. As far as the middleware, from what I saw, FMod looked like one of most powerful things that I've ever seen in my life. That was some neat stuff. WBlides look pretty cool as well. But if it were me, FMod would be my choice. But and there are others out there. So that's really all you got going on here. There is a piece of software that I omitted, and it's more mastering, and that's called Wavelab. Wavelab is in your DAW you can do EQ, and somebody who's really good with a DAW, I mean, you can do a whole lot of shaking going on. Jim can't see the damn screen very well, which is why I'm squinting right now, because my glasses are sitting over here, and I'm too lazy to put them on. But Wavelab is an application that is, audio editing and mastering suite. So it happens to do surround. It also happens to do. Let me just open up the last project here. So there you go. So this is a little quick snapshot of what Wavelab looks like. So for the most part, I personally am dealing with stereo channels, stereo tracks, and as it's cool. This really becomes, and again, you can do multi-track with Wavelab Pro. Where it becomes cool is you can do some mastering and add some polish to that final sound. So fatten the sound up, if you will. So is it an absolute must for just starting? No, it's not. But I would highly recommend it, and I would recommend Wavelab. I think period by far is the best on the planet for this type of production, and I'm not getting paid by the guys by Yamaha Steinberg to do that. I've used it so much, and it's a good piece of software. So you can kind of tweak, and get that right after your final mix is done. You just get that right sound out of it. So kind of more of a mastering piece, and that doesn't mean you have to become a professional mastering engineer, but it at least gets it a little bit more refined, and closer to what you're going to need. You're doing audio for a game, you're not mastering the next symphony. So if you were doing that, I'd say get it to a mastering engineer, go to school, learn how to master. But I think you'll do just fine. So you need a slick audio computer. You need a DAW, digital audio workstation software. The audio mastering software is kind of optional but recommended. And then you need an application, the middleware like FMod, WWise. They will all run on a slick audio machine, and they will all do the job quite well. And that is about all I have for the 101 section. So, if there's any questions on it, please post them. I'll try to do my best to answer. And I think for those of you thinking about getting into this, I mean, this is a pretty hot field. There's more and more games being created every day, and we're seeing the market explode from our end, and more people getting involved in the audio production for it. There's more and more guys, that are coding and creating games, and you know what they need. I'll use the term low-cost alternatives than going to Disney Studios, right? So I'm not sure anybody can afford that other than Disney themselves. So there's definitely a market for this. So if you're thinking about getting into audio and don't want to do the standard band thing, audio for gaming is a pretty cool adventure, and you certainly can make a nice career out of it if done right, and maybe even a secondary career. So do it on the side, moonlight, whatever, and just remember what I said: learn the DAW and get damn good at it, because you're going to need to. And then, of course, Fmod or whatever WYs, whatever you pick, you need to learn and get really good at that as well. But that's the second phase. You got to create the music first. So, if there's any questions that you guys have, please, shout them at sales at slick.audio. I almost said slickaudio.com. There is no slickaudio.com, guys. We do not have slickaudio.com. It is slick.audio. No .com, no .cc, no .jack shit. It's www.slick.audio. See? So, or you give us a shout, 570-371-5800. Hit option 2 for the Slick Audio side and option 1 for sales, and that will get you to one of the maniacs here at Slick Audio to answer a question you might get myself, if you're not so lucky, or depending on how you look at it. I answer phones too, why not? Hey, thank you very much, and love to hear from you.
Say hi to Darren.
Hey Darren, how's it going, buddy? So I'm sure you heard the news that we're expanding out. So give us a shout, man. Take care, guys. Have a good one.